Hello everyone, my name is Audrey Freeman, I'm 28 years old, and today I'm going to tell you a story that completely changed my life and that still moves me every time I think about it. You won't believe what my own family did to me when I decided to follow my dream of serving my country. But just wait until you hear how this story ends. Stay until the end because you'll see how sometimes life has a very poetic way of proving us right. Let's start at the beginning. I grew up in an upper-middle-class family in Denver, Colorado. My father, Michael Freeman, was a successful lawyer who worked for a large corporate firm. My mother, Patricia, was a literature teacher at a private school and was always very involved in the arts and culture. We had a beautiful house in the suburbs, 2 cars in the garage, and on the outside we seemed like the perfect American family. But inside the house things were very different. My parents always had a very specific vision of what success meant. For them, success meant having a prestigious college degree, working in a clean office wearing expensive clothes, and building an intellectual career. They saw the world as divided between the educated and civilized and everyone else. I have an older brother, Nathan, who has always been the golden child of the family. He graduated from Harvard Law, followed in my father's footsteps, and now works at the same firm. Whenever we had family dinners, it was Nathan this, Nathan that. Nathan got another important client, Nathan got a promotion, Nathan bought a new house. But for me things were different. Ever since I was little I have always been more adventurous, more independent. I liked sports, the outdoors and physical challenges. When other parents praised my track and field medals or my karate trophies, my mother would always quickly change the subject. To her these achievements had no real value. During high school I became interested in military history and international politics. I read books about the Great Wars, military strategy and war heroes. My parents tolerated this as a teenage phase, thinking that I would soon grow up and become interested in more serious things. Everything changed in my senior year of college. I was studying international relations at the University of Colorado, and there was an exchange program with the military academy. I learned more about the military career and it was like a light bulb went on inside me. I finally found something that made sense, that matched my personality and my values. I came home excited to tell my parents about my decision to enlist in the military after graduation. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a Sunday night, we were all in the dining room. Nathan was there too with his girlfriend at the time, Jennifer. I said, "Dad, Mom, I've made an important decision about my future. After I graduate, I'm going to enlist in the U.S. Army." The silence that followed was deafening. My mother dropped her fork on her plate with a loud clatter. My father stared at me as if I had said I was going to become a stripper. Finally, my mother spoke up. "Audrey, this is a very bad joke." I replied, "It's not a joke, Mom. I'm serious. I want to serve my country, I want to make a difference in the world." My father exploded. "Make a difference? Audrey, you've had every opportunity a young woman can have. You went to the best schools, you have a college degree, you have connections through our family. And you want to throw all that away to become a soldier?" Nathan decided to join in the conversation. "Audrey, you don't understand. The military is for people who don't have other options. People who can't get into college, who don't have the opportunities you had." I felt the blood rush to my head. "Nathan, you're being extremely prejudiced. There are brilliant people in the military, people who choose to serve out of love for their country, not because they have no other options." My mother was visibly shaken. "Audrey, we didn't invest so much in your education for you to become a mercenary. This is a betrayal of everything your family stands for." That conversation couldn't have ended worse. My father said that if I enlisted he would cut off all financial support. My mother said that I was bringing shame to the family. Nathan said that I was being childish and rebellious. But do you know what hurt the most? At the end of the argument my mother said something that I will never forget. "Audrey, if you do that you are no longer my daughter. A daughter of mine would never stoop to that level." I left home that night and went to the apartment I shared with 2 college friends. I cried all night, but by morning my decision was made. If my family couldn't support me I would prove them wrong. I graduated with a degree in international relations 3 months later, and the day after graduation I went to the Army recruiting office. My parents didn't even show up for my graduation. Nathan did, but he stood on the other side of the auditorium as if he was embarrassed to meet me. The enlistment process was intense. I had to pass physical exams, psychological exams and knowledge tests. But I was determined. Every obstacle I overcame was further proof that I was on the right path. Basic training was at Fort Benning, Georgia. I can say without exaggeration that it was the hardest 3 months of my life up to that point. Waking up at 5 a.m., intense physical exercises, weapons training, combat simulations, strict military discipline. But do you know what stood out to me the most? The camaraderie. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who valued loyalty, courage, sacrifice. It didn't matter where you came from, what your background was, how much money your parents had. What mattered was your dedication, your strength of character. There was a girl in my platoon, Sarah Martinez, who came from a family of Mexican immigrants. She had 3 jobs before enlisting and was sending money home to her parents. Then there was James Thompson, a farm boy from Kansas who had never left his home state until he enlisted. And then there was David Kim, the son of Korean college professors who spoke 4 languages. We were all there for the same reason: we wanted to serve. And I can assure you that the intelligence, dedication, and character of these people surpassed anyone I knew from my family's social circles. After basic training, I was selected for military intelligence training. My degree in international relations and my knowledge of languages qualified me for a special position. I learned data analysis, communications interpretation, and military strategy. During this time, I tried to keep in touch with my family a few times. I would call home, but the conversations were always tense and brief. My mother spoke to me as if I were a stranger. My father barely answered when I was on the line. Nathan was sometimes more cordial, but he always ended the conversations by telling me that I still had time to change my mind. What hurt me the most was that they didn't even try to understand what I was doing. When I told them about my training, about the things I was learning, about the friends I was making, they listened with disinterest, as if I were telling them about a meaningless temporary job. 2 years after enlisting, I received my first international assignment. I was to be deployed to Afghanistan as part of an intelligence unit. My job would be to analyze intercepted communications and help identify threats against American troops and local civilians. I called home to tell her. My mother answered the phone, and when I told her I was going to be deployed to Afghanistan, she started crying. I thought she was finally showing her motherly concern, but what she said broke my heart. Patricia said, "Audrey, you're going to die there, and you're going to die for nothing. You're going to die for politicians who don't even know your name, for people who don't even want our help. And the worst part is that you're going to tarnish our family's name forever." I tried to explain the importance of the mission, how we were helping to protect innocent civilians, how we were fighting terrorism. But she hung up on me. We arrived in Afghanistan in March 2018. The base where we were stationed was in Helmand Province, one of the most dangerous regions in the country. My team was small but highly trained. Myself, Sergeant Rodriguez, Specialist Chin, and Corporal Jackson. Our work was crucial. We intercepted communications from terrorist groups and identified threats before they could strike. Our work saved many lives, both American soldiers and Afghan civilians. But what impressed me most was the humanitarian work we did on the side. We helped distribute medical supplies, went on missions to protect schools and hospitals, and worked with local organizations to bring clean water to remote villages. There was an Afghan girl named Farah, about 10 years old, who would always show up near the base. She spoke a little English and would always ask about the United States. I taught her and other children in the nearby village English. Seeing the sparkle in their eyes when they learned something new, seeing the hope they had for a better future, it reminded me every day why I was there. In September 2018, something happened that would change my life forever. We received information that a terrorist group was planning an attack on a primary school in the village where Farah lived. The attack was scheduled to take place the following day during school hours. My analysis of the intercepted communications revealed crucial details about the plan. They intended to use 2 car bombs simultaneously, one at the main entrance of the school and the other at an emergency exit. The goal was to cause as many casualties as possible among the children. We took the information to command, and an operation was organized to intercept the terrorists before they reached the school. I asked to be part of the operation even though it was not my usual role. I knew these children, I knew this school. I could not sit back at the base while they were in danger. The operation began at 4 a.m. Our team positioned itself at strategic points around the route the terrorists would use to reach the school. I was with Sergeant Rodriguez at an elevated observation post, monitoring communications and coordinating the positions of the other teams. At 6:30 a.m., we spotted the first suspect vehicle. It was a white van, exactly as described in the intercepted communications. We confirmed that there were explosives in the vehicle through remote detection equipment. The order was to intercept the vehicles before they got close to the school. But something went wrong. The second vehicle, which was supposed to come along the main road, changed course. It was taking an alternative route that would take it straight to the schoolyard from the back. I called into the radio. Command, Vehicle 2 has changed course. It is heading straight for the school via the alternative route. 3 minutes. The response was that the intercept team would not be able to arrive in time. The terrorist would reach the school before them. I ran like I had never run before in my life. I jumped over walls, crossed backyards, ignored the screams of the residents who had woken up to the noise. My only concern was to reach that interception point before the car bomb. I reached the alternative road with about 30 seconds to spare. I could hear the sound of the engine approaching. I positioned my rifle and prepared myself for what was to come. The vehicle appeared around the bend, speeding. I could see the driver's face through the windshield. He was a young man, probably my age, with a look of fanatical determination. I shouted in Pashto and Arabic, "Stop the vehicle. Stop now." But he accelerated even more. It was clear that he intended to pass me by and get to the school. At that moment, I had to make the most difficult decision of my life. Shoot the front tire of the vehicle, knowing that this could cause the car bomb to explode and kill me along with it, or let it pass and kill dozens of innocent children. For me, there was no choice. I aimed for the front tire and fired. What happened next still gives me nightmares. The tire blew out, the vehicle skidded and crashed into a large tree about 50 meters away from me. For a few seconds I thought I had succeeded. The terrorist was unconscious, the vehicle had stopped. But then I saw that he was trying to activate something with his hand. The detonator. I ran in the opposite direction, shouting into the radio. "Command, command. Vehicle 2 intercepted, but it will explode. Evacuate the area." The explosion was deafening. The shockwave threw me to the ground with such force that I lost consciousness for a few seconds. When I woke up, there was debris everywhere, my ears were ringing and I could feel something warm running down my forehead. But do you know what my first thought was? The children are safe. The school was more than 200 meters away. The explosion had not reached that far. The rescue team arrived about 10 minutes later. I was conscious but moderately injured. Shrapnel from the explosion had cut me in several places, and I had a mild concussion. But nothing life-threatening. Sergeant Rodriguez was the first to find me. When he saw me sitting against a tree applying pressure to a cut on my arm, he said, "Freeman, you are completely insane. And you are also the bravest person I have ever met." I was taken to the base hospital to be treated for my injuries. While I was being treated, I learned that the operation had been a complete success. The first vehicle had also been intercepted without explosion, and all the terrorists involved in the plot had been captured or eliminated. Most importantly, all the children at the school were safe. The school was able to operate normally that day, and the children were unaware of the danger they had been in. In the days that followed, the story of what had happened spread throughout the base. High-ranking officers came to visit me in the hospital. General Morrison, our region commander, came personally to congratulate me. He said, "Sergeant Freeman, your actions have saved the lives of at least 60 children and 10 teachers. You have demonstrated exceptional courage and dedication to duty. You will be recommended for a decoration for heroism." But do you know what touched me the most? 2 days later, little Farah showed up at the hospital with a drawing she had made for me. It was a drawing of an American soldier protecting a school full of children. Underneath it, she had written in English, "Thank you for saving us, Miss Audrey." I cried like a child when I saw that drawing. I have kept it to this day. 3 months after the incident, my tour of duty in Afghanistan ended. I returned to the United States with a Purple Heart for combat wounds and a Bronze Star for heroism. But more important than the medals, I returned with the knowledge that I had made the right decision in enlisting. During my entire time in Afghanistan, I had very little contact with my family. I would send occasional emails saying I was okay, but I rarely received a response. Nathan would respond occasionally, but always in a cold and distant manner. I decided that when I returned, I would try to reconcile. Not because I needed their approval, but because I still loved them despite everything. The decoration ceremony was scheduled for December 2018 at Fort Carson, Colorado. It would be a large ceremony with several decorations being presented simultaneously. Family members of the soldiers were invited to attend. I sent an invitation to my parents and Nathan. Along with the invitation, I wrote a letter explaining what had happened in Afghanistan, why I was receiving the medals, and how important it was to me. In the letter, I wrote, "I know you didn't support my decision to enlist, and I know you still don't understand why I chose this path. But I really wish you could have been there to see your daughter and sister become someone you can be proud of, even if for different reasons than you expected." A week before the ceremony, Nathan called me. It was the first time we had had a real conversation in 3 years. He said, "Audrey, I read your letter. I also read some news reports about what happened in Afghanistan. I think maybe we were unfair to you." I was so surprised I didn't know what to say. Nathan continued, "Dad won't admit it, but he's been following your military career. He has newspaper clippings about your awards in his desk drawer. Mom cries every time she sees a story about wounded soldiers on the news. She's afraid it's you." I asked, "Are they going to the ceremony?" Nathan replied, "I'll try to convince them. You know, they are too proud to admit they were wrong, but I think deep down they know." The day of the ceremony arrived. It was a cold December morning with a light snowfall. I was nervous, not because of the ceremony itself, but because I didn't know if my family would be able to attend. The ceremony began at 10 a.m. There were about 200 people in the auditorium, most of them family members of the soldiers who were to be decorated. I was standing backstage waiting my turn, when an officer came to tell me that my family had arrived. I felt my heart race. Through a crack in the curtain, I could see my parents and Nathan sitting in the third row. My mother was wearing the blue dress she always wore on special occasions. My father was wearing the gray suit he reserved for the most important matters in the office. When it was my turn, the officer of ceremonies announced, "Sergeant Audrey Freeman, for displaying exceptional courage in the face of the enemy and for saving the lives of innocent civilians at the risk of her own life, is awarded the Bronze Star Medal and the Purple Heart." I walked up to the stage in my dress uniform with the medals I had won earlier already on my chest. When I got to General Morrison, he whispered, "Your family is here. They are proud even if they don't know how to show it." As he pinned the medals to my chest, I looked out into the audience and saw my mother wiping tears from her eyes. My father had an expression I had never seen before, a mix of pride, admiration, and regret. But the moment that stuck with me the most was when General Morrison read aloud the report of my deployment in Afghanistan. He told how I had risked my life to save 60 children, how I had demonstrated exceptional courage and dedication. When he finished reading, the entire audience stood up and applauded for nearly 2 minutes. And there, in the third row, my parents were standing and applauding along with everyone else. After the ceremony, there was a reception in the adjoining hall. I was chatting with some fellow soldiers when I saw my parents approaching. My heart started pounding again. My mother arrived first. She stopped in front of me, looked me in the eye for a few seconds, and then did something she hadn't done in years. She gave me a big hug. In a choked voice she said, "Audrey, I was wrong. I was completely wrong about you, about the military, about everything. You saved the lives of 60 children. 60 children who will grow up, go to school, have families because of what you did. How could I have thought that was worthless?" Then it was my father's turn. He had always been a man of few words, but that day he said something I will never forget. Michael said, "Audrey, I spent my whole life thinking I knew what it meant to be successful. I thought success was money, prestige, social recognition. But today I realized that true success is making a difference in people's lives. And you, my daughter, have made a difference that I could never have made with all my legal cases." Nathan also approached me and said, "Audrey, you have always been braver than me. While I was worried about impressing clients, you were saving lives. I should have supported you from the beginning." From that day on, our family relationship changed completely. My parents began to take a genuine interest in my military career. They asked about my work, my colleagues, and the places where I served. My mother began corresponding with organizations that support veterans. She organized supply drives for soldiers overseas. My father began offering free legal services to veterans who needed help with benefits or legal issues. Nathan changed even more. He decided to leave my father's firm and open his own firm focused on veterans' rights. Today he is one of the most respected military rights attorneys in Colorado. Guys, I am nearing the end of my story, but before I end, I want to share some important thoughts with you. First, never let other people, even family, define what success is for you. My parents had a very limited view of what a successful life meant. They didn't understand that there are different ways to make a difference in the world. Second, sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the most, but that doesn't mean we should give up on them. My parents were wrong, but they were capable of growing and changing. Reconciliation was worth it. Third, follow your instincts. I knew in my heart that the military was the right path for me, even when everyone around me told me otherwise. If I had given in to family pressure, I would never have saved those 60 children. Today, 6 years after that ceremony, I have a solid military career. I have been promoted to first sergeant and work training new recruits. I love teaching young soldiers everything I learned over the years. I keep in touch with many of the people I met in Afghanistan. Farah, the girl who gave me the drawing, is now 16 and dreams of studying medicine in the United States. My family and I have set up a scholarship fund to help Afghan students like her. My parents are now two of my biggest supporters. They attend all of my military ceremonies, and my mother has become a kind of foster mother to many young soldiers who have no family nearby. The story I've told you today is about many things. About courage, about family, about forgiveness. But most of all, it's about the importance of following your own path, even when that path is lonely and difficult. If you enjoyed this story, please like it, subscribe to the channel and share in the comments. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between following your dreams and pleasing your family? How did you deal with it? I'd love to hear your experiences. And remember, sometimes the people who call us traitors in the beginning are the same ones who call us heroes in the end. The important thing is to never betray yourself. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next video.